Okay, welcome to Chapter 1, Hands-on Exercise number 1 of the CIS 130 class. What I've done is I've taken the liberty to launch Excel 2013 and enter in all the data that we needed for the first hands-on exercise so you wouldn't have to watch me type. Before we get to the hands-on exercise itself, we're going to talk about some basic terminology and some basic navigation. If you look across the top, there's a number of tabs. We're in the home menu right now. We can click on the file menu, and there's some things like saving and printing there. There's an insert where we can do a lot of functionality like charts and lines and things of that nature, pivot tables and tables. Page layout gives us things like margins, orientation, landscape or portrait, the size, print area, and so on. Formulas allows us to insert different formulas, and then some other things that we'll talk about. Formula auditing, we'll talk about that later. The data allows us to pull data from external sources like Microsoft Access or from web or from text files and so on. We could also sort the data right in the data tab, and then we'll do some things in later chapters like what if analysis and some things like grouping and subtotaling. In the view tab, we can look at various types of views. This is a page break preview, so it shows you what will print on what page. Here's a page layout view, and then the normal view. So we can mess around with the views. We could also do things like freeze panes and hiding columns and things of that nature. Okay, so that's the basics of the tabs across the top. Right over here is what we call the name box, where it says A1, and we'll talk about naming and defining ranges later on in the class. If we just put our cursor in any cell, this one's in B5 for example, this is the formula bar, and we can either cancel something, enter it, or insert a function, and we're going to be inserting a lot of functions later on in the class. That's all done in this area up here. Right now we have row headings, and those are the numbers that you see, and then we have column headings, and those are the letters that you see across the top. Down in the bottom you'll see the status bar, and it says in ready mode. If I was to put my cursor in that formula bar, it now says it's in edit mode, so we can look at what mode we're in. If we come to the bottom right, those views that we looked at in the view window, the normal, the page layout, and the page break views are all down here at the bottom, as well as the capability to zoom in and out. That can also be found in the bottom right. So that's some basic functionality on and naming and terminology with some Excel functions. Now we're going to talk about some basic navigation. If you look at my screen, we have about 37 rows that we can see on each screen. If I increase the view size, if I zoomed in a little bit, notice that I only can see about 18 rows. But in the normal view, a page of rows would be about 37 rows. To navigate through a spreadsheet, we could use the arrow keys, for example. We can go down, we could go to the right, we could go to the left, or we could go up. If we use tab, it would go one to the right within the same row. Okay. If we did page down, for example, it would go about 37 rows down. So now I'm on row 38, I hit page down again, I'm on row 75. If I hit page up, I go about 37 rows up. So it's a way to quickly navigate a large spreadsheet. If I hit home, let me put my cursor in cell G1. If I hit the home button, it goes to column A of whatever row I'm in. So let's say now I'm in S8. If I hit the home button, it'll go to A8. Okay? Again, another way to navigate. If I hit Control and Home, let's say I'm down here in L39, I hit Control and Home at the same time, I'll go to cell A1. Control and Home always brings us to A1. When I hit Control and End, let me put some data down here. I'll just say data. When I hit Control and End at the same time, it will take me to the rightmost column and the furthest row down where there is data. Okay, And again, I can quickly navigate back up to A1 with Control and Home. So that's some basic functionality about navigating a spreadsheet, especially when we have larger spreadsheets. So let's get right to the hands-on exercise. The first part talks about entering some text, and I went ahead and entered this text for us. And then I've gone ahead and entered some numeric values here. Notice that right now, wherever we put our cursor, most of these values are labeled as general. But if we look at what this is, there's general, there's number, currency, accounting type format that looks similar to currency. We could put dates and times, percentages and fractions, and so on. Right now we haven't formatted anything to any cells to anything but general. If we look at where this date is in cell A2, this is the first one that says anything different than general, and it says date. So one of the things I want to show you is let's clear out some of the data that we've entered. Okay. Now over here in the editing section, we're in the Home tab, and in the editing section there's a little eraser icon which stands for clear. And notice that we can clear the contents of the cell, and if I clear the contents in A2, that date will disappear, but the date formatting will stay the same. So the next time I enter in a number, it will put it into date format. I could clear the format, so the date format will go away. It will be in general format, but the contents 9/1/2016 will remain. Or I could clear all, which will get rid of the format and the content. So I'm going to go ahead and click clear all just to show you. And if I put my cursor back in A2, it's back in the general format. I'm going to put that date back 9/1/2016. If I could type. And there we go. We're back to our original format. Date is in A2, and everything else on the spreadsheet is listed as general at this point. And that's really the first hands-on exercise. It was to show you how to enter in text values, numeric values, and dates, and then also to show you how to clear the contents of a cell.